Hargreaves, chance for Torquay. Chris Hargreaves, the captain. If he stays offside, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benny. Sills.
Stop hiding, Gary! Again! You hide every week!
He hides every week! He hides every week! Gary Johnson! He hides every week! It's my man! It's my man!
And welcome to this week's Gull'S Live View. I'm joined by Tom.
Good evening, lads. You all right?
Buzzing. Joined by Dom.
Good evening. You all right?
Yeah, buzzing. Joined by Chris.
Oh yeah, buzzing. Yeah, hi all.
So
Tom's
this
bubbling
week,
there at the top, isn't he?
yeah, no, we'll get let Tom loose in a minute. But so obviously,
Tom.
as you can see from the clip at the start of the episode, if I've remembered to edit it incorrectly, there was a lot of fan discontent that's been building and building and building, as we spoke about, as we covered on here. And then this is what happened when fans aren't heard. Obviously, we've lost 2-0 to Hereford. We've got a lot of fan reaction. We've been asked a lot of questions, had so many people, sort of, as Tom will read out in a bit, sort of come back to us. It's nothing new on here really this week, is it? What we're discussing, it's nothing new. It's not the isolated result itself which has caused this, but it's just comes more and more shockingly apparent. The huge issue, there's many issues at his football club right now, but there's one big, huge issue which for me now has really accelerated over everything else, and that is, I'm afraid, Gary Johnson. Just for me, it's just more and more evident now that it is a poorly recruited squad, which is him and his brother and all that thing in first place, but you can't get a tune of them at all, and it just looks absolutely abject. So who wants to start? Should I let Tom straight away? Dom, Chris, anything to add?
Let Tom off the long run. We'll have a rest, and then we'll come in afterwards. After that.
All right. Okay.
I mean, at no point as the fans all united in this Gary out thing, and at the moment they have, I think, really.
Yeah, no, this is the first
time. It might be the odd person, but it's the first time that everybody thought this is getting ridiculous now. So.
Yeah, and I'm still a fan. I respect Gary Johnson still, but it's way gone now for me. Anyway, Tom, go.
Right, sit back, relax, and enjoy, everybody. let's focus on positives from Saturday if there's a few.
Right,
Um,
that's next.
Well, this is going to be short, isn't it?
It'll be good, won't it?
We are going in a minute.
Firstly, to Mark and Harry, who run the Torquay United Travel Club, thank you so much for a brilliant transportation and for all the banter. I said I'd make sure they get a mention. It was very well run, ran to time, got us there nice and early, and they put on a service that the club wishes they could provide. They did a really good job, and I know they're struggling to fill seats for Chippenham at the moment. So if you can, please do support them. They do a good job. They're, Torquay fans as well and really care about the club. So their support goes a long way. So thanks, guys, for the transportation. It was nice to catch up. And the Yellow Army who were there, I think it was 267 was the official declaration for an FA Trophy game. It's a great following considering we must be mental, absolutely mental. But that's where all the good kind of finishes. It's not the fact that we've lost to Hereford in the trophy. You can I can take a defeat to Hereford. They've a really good side, doing well in the National League North. They've got a fantastic home
out, but yeah, go on.
Well, yes, they did have a couple of players out, as I learned afterwards, but it's a tough place to go. But we had 5 minutes at the start where we played okay. We put a couple of nice balls together, but Hereford quickly took control, and there was just no organisation about us. There was just no flow to our play. Dwayne Afori action pong was announced at 2 p.m. Worst kept secret at Torquay United all week, and 3 minutes in, he pulls a hamstring. That is just peak Torquay United right there, and it just set the tone for the day. Where do you start, lads? Where do you start? The first goal comes from a silly challenge from Jenkins Davies, I believe. And it's a well taken free kick. But as soon as we went 1-0 down, you knew we weren't getting back into that game. And the mood turned very, very quickly in the terraces. A lot of Gary out chants at that stage. And Hereford just took control. Their number 7 rings around us the entire game. We just did not have a plan to cope. And although we had a couple of off-target chances, I think Foyo had one straight at the keeper, but it was a distant shot. Keeper gathered it easily. And the second goal, shambolic defensive-wise. The ball's over on the left-hand side to the number 7. We can't get the ball. A couple of crosses in, gets back out to him. Then it comes to the right-hand side of the pitch. And I don't know what Harris is doing, but he's dragged him down in the box. It's so silly. And 2-0, it's game over. We just never looked like getting back into that game. Hereford controlled the second half. And it all got rather nasty on the terraces, sadly. Again, I would say 99% of people there were firmly in the Gary Out club. And, watching him from the opposite side of the pitch, he doesn't do anything, lads. Aaron Downs does all the talking. Aaron Downs does all... He does all the talking. He, positions everyone. And he just stands there, doesn't do anything. And the sub of Collins was the real...
That's what Cheltenham fans have been saying.
Although he wasn't great, but he was pinging balls across, and he looked, I don't want to say solid, but he looked better than he had done in recent games.
And he should be playing up front, as every Torquay fan has been saying. In this current situation, he should be the striker. And
he's taken off, and we're left with a front three of Asa Hall, Ross Marshall, and Dylan De Silva, and that is the biggest insult. How on earth? It's a joke of how the club has fallen. And once again, we're out of the FA Trophy. You look at the results in the trophy, a lot of National League clubs went out. I personally feel it's a great opportunity for a club at our level to get to Wembley. You look at, I think Hendon beat Chesterfield or something like that. Hendon won at Oldham. Hampton won on penalties at Hartlepool. It's a chance to progress. It's extra money for the club. And we've just thrown it all away. And obviously the full-time footage you guys have seen speaks for itself, sadly. And there's still some fans who are say we should be supporting the team instead of giving stick. But for me, turning up at a ground is showing your support. The same if you're listening on the radio, you're supporting the team from at home, this, that, and the other. And how much further can you let this go? The owners clearly don't give a damn. They can't do. What do they see? What's on the pitch and think that's good enough? And ultimately we
They can
are
just get popular
eighth.
as well. You can just
It's
it's just
just
easy popularity for them if they just go, right, sorry, enough is enough now.
and they are completely, it's like they're living in their own fantasy land. It really is. And Gary Johnson, once again, the biggest takeaway from that was his full-time reaction. You can see what's happening. You can see the fans are having a go at the players. And whilst I believe, abusing the players isn't the right way to go,
I
let me
agree.
put that firmly on the record.
Yeah,
But
completely agree.
showing frustration and I, it's the frustration that the manager doesn't, there's no accountability. I keep
No.
saying it week in, week out. There's no accountability at this football club. And I believe we are a football club. I said it after Western that we are a football club that is dying. And in 5-10 years, I don't think we'll be in our original form as Torquay United Football Club under this ownership because there's just no ambition. There's no drive. They're completely separate. They just divide themselves from the fan base.
Yeah.
And as a result, the fans get frustrated. The fans get angry. And you get scenes like we've seen, sadly, too many times this season. It was a lot worse than the Western debacle.
Yeah.
But Aaron Downs got so much stick, and you can see it in the footage. Gary Johnson looks over, sees he's getting all the stick, and just decides, I'm going.
So there's a lot about Gary Johnson as a bloke, and that's why I lose respect for him all the time. Well done, Tom. Tommy, that was very, very good way of putting it across. I mean,
We're a soft touch, aren't we?
We're pathetic all the way through. We don't have a physio.
I mean, especially away from home. Any opposition team starts on us, gets a good start, they'll score because we shy away, don't we, from the battle? I mean, we have done all season. I mean, we could say this is just because
the only person that turns up in these
games,
that honestly.
We've got a weakened team and we're struggling because of that. It's not necessarily
rubbish when we had a full
weakened team. We had our top team out at the start of the season and we were still losing these games.
It's a weak mentality in this squad. It's weak.
Whole club, the football club,
the
the
whole
business
club is rotten from the inside out.
Yeah, it needs sorting out, completely sorting out. And if there was another forum today, I what sort of questions they get now, I don't think they'd fancy answering those. But they're a cosy club, aren't they? These owners and Gary Johnson, they love each other. They're going in the right direction. They think they are. I can't see it at all. I can't see it. When we asked them what they're going to do to achieve it, they could only come up with the silly phrase and
One Club United.
Yeah, they couldn't come up with anything substantial to tell us.
We are the furthest thing from One Club United.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
They don't want to do anything, do they? They don't want to get rid of him. They're either too close and they don't want to pay the money.
Why do they need to?
Of course, we're not going
Yeah.
Because
we're not...
Go on, Tom.
I was going to say, I don't expect to win every game, but I at least expect to see a bit of effort and tactical nous put into our performances. And there's just nothing from Gary Johnson. No. It's embarrassing. And it's again, how many times do I need to say it? I feel like I've watched the same game so many times this season. It's embarrassing. And we're not doing anything to rectify. There was no closing down at any stage of that game. And we just never looked like getting into it. And to the fact that, 270 Torquay fans, turned up on a cold Saturday, for, what was it, last 32 of the trophy, it's incredible support, and they're just being let down all the time. And I understand the frustrations. I think, again, abusing the players is not the right way to go. I think you can express frustration at players, but you shouldn't be abusing. But it all stems from the gaffer, Gary Johnson. It
all stems from when he came in after the season ended last season. He said, I've had a word with George, I'm going to stay. And at that point, it's on a knife edge, isn't it? We were happy with some of the players he brought in, but everybody's on a knife edge. And if you lose games, people get angrier and angrier because it's the same people who have let you down last season. The same people, if it was a new manager and they're getting some strange results, people will have a bit more patience, don't they? They think, well, you're going to do something different here. Maybe we'll build something that we can work on. But it's the same crap as last season. And people's patience. I don't want to hear anybody abusing or falling out of each other. It's not nice to hear at all. But people's frustrations, and that January is a crap month as it is, and everybody's pretty grumpy, and they see us not putting a shift in, not organised, not representing the club or we're a professional outfit. We're just not looking like one at all at the moment, are we? And it's just embarrassing. I think it really is.
Chris, you want anything to say, Chris?
Yeah, before I go in, Chris.
Sorry, Chris.
I've been listening. I'd say, there's a few things that listening to, they're just observations. They're not excuses. I'd say, I think the point where Johnson will come over after games is past. It's gone.
Yeah.
Because if you were him, would you do it? Of course you wouldn't. I mean, there's no reason for him to do it now because he hasn't done it. But that's why we're in this position, which is why Downs comes over and takes the stick, because that's always been the way
I
it
still
is.
would. I still would.
That's not good leadership, though. It's not good leadership.
And that's why he's a failure.
It's not, Tom. And as you said yesterday, and I totally agree with what you said. In terms of, we in our life we do roles that require leadership, and actually that's what leadership is about. Sometimes it's not about the good days; it's about the bad days and how you manage those. Oh, absolutely, it's not good leadership, but he's not going to start now.
No,
So
I know.
it's pointless.
I know.
He's not going to start that now
Until we win.
I think. Even then, I think the other thing I would say is, and I suspect the club will be mindful of this, is that you don't want to sack a manager because fans say so. You want to make it on your terms, and I think they're so stubborn. And I think that statement they made in that online forum where they said where George made one of his many statement comments of "We've got the best manager goes into the football league." Well,
he's deluded.
I totally
he needs
agree.
to go. There needs to be a football man that comes in to help him.
There's no part of me agrees with that statement, but now he said that, you can't then sack him a month later. You just got, unless you're prepared.
You could if you weren't so
wrong. You're accepting you're wrong. I think what I find just so sad about it is that, again, and there's something else, is they can't come out and say, well, look, actually we can't afford to if we want to, because then that sounds like you want to, and you wouldn't do that to one of your employees. But what I would say, I think the problem that there is now is that above all else is that, and what I think I find is the most hurtful, maybe the right phrase, to say that actually all of this would change overnight. It could change overnight. All you would need to do would be to make a change in the leadership, accept it's not worked for whatever reason.
Comes back.
Thank you for 5.5 years. Bring in a new coach, whoever that might be, and then then the rest of the season it would galvanise the fan base.
Yeah.
Everybody's morale goes up, doesn't they? You get a few decent results.
Overnight, you would have a change of mentality. Overnight,
you gain respect for them as well as owners.
You'd have a totally.
Some people would.
I wouldn't go that far because
you know what I mean, though. Like they'll get them off their back for a bit.
Yeah.
It's just easy credit in the bank for them, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes accepting you're wrong is the hardest thing to do, isn't it? In life,
any successful person will do that. That's why George Edwards and his reign and all that isn't success. And that's.
But then you've got Clark Osborne. You've got people like Clark Osborne saying, "I don't."
When they did it with Gary Hours, though, because it's a very similar situation.
Yeah, but Hours went to them. If you remember the statement,
they're clearly closer with Gary.
Of course they are, but Hours went to them and went. Like,
but then you've got people like, Clark Osborne saying he's never failed in life. Well, if you haven't failed in life, you haven't really lived in life, to be honest.
Everyone's failed.
Everyone's failed.
That's how you.
And you speak to the Cheltenham fans, you speak to Bristol Rovers fans, Northampton fans. They'll all tell you the same thing. It's what we've brought up in the past. As soon as Gary Johnson has struggled, he hasn't been able to turn clubs around. He has a track record. He'll have a good couple of years, but as soon as it goes wrong, he cannot turn it around. And you get it's so similar. They'll all say it's very similar path that Torquay United are on.
Tactically, he hasn't got enough ideas.
But he's tactically inept. He's playing players like Boyo's obviously not playing in his preferred position. But why have him there in the first place if you're not going to play him in his right position? I think Jonathan Jones, and he said on our WhatsApp group, didn't he, about playing players in the right position?
Yeah. It's just plain obvious stuff at this stage.
And I think personally, I don't have a huge amount of issue with them not bringing players in just at the moment, because if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. It looks like we need to sign some players quick because we're struggling, but the reality is we have a lot. We've got
players coming back.
Yeah, but when are they coming back? This is my problem. If they say when they're coming back, maybe we're not.
Yeah, and again, there's a part of you that has to be a little bit for them. They've tried to fill a gap by bringing in a 4-year Chimpong, and he gets injured straight away. So it's kind of what's happening. But I think
it all goes back to the summer, Chris, though, doesn't it? Failures again to get the right squad.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is right now, isn't it? This is what's happening right now. And of course, and I think the problem is, my biggest concern is that, and he keeps saying it, and he is putting such big play on these players are coming back, that they'll be back by the end of the month. They'll be back for all the games in February. But the problem with all of this, it still worries me the most, is that apart from Ash, where fundamentally, as long as you keep your core fitness going, he is the broken bone will heal and he'll be back. But a lot of these, Jarvis, Stobbs, Lapsley, these are injuries you don't just start playing again. Hamstrings you've got to be so careful with, and half an hour here, half an hour there. It's not going to be a case of flicking a switch and they'll be back. It's not simple as that.
But all the
And they've
estimates
also
have
got
been,
players who are out of contract in the summer, so they don't want to have a bad
but
injury.
all the injury estimates as well have gone back. Jarvis has gone from be back around Christmas, be back around the beginning of January. Oh, it's going to be the end
Well,
of January.
look at
Now
our
it looks
physio
like he's not going to be
department.
back until
A
March.
serious,
I've
a
heard.
serious conversation needs to be had about this, right? Because I know nothing about physiotherapy, and I don't want to start making rumors of things I don't really know. But if you look on Companies House, if you look in various places, as other fans have been, there is not a sign physio. We have sports therapists. I'm not discounting their jobs, but there seems to be like a lack of leadership. So I imagine, right? This is how I imagine it works out. There's a lack of people. Johnson's like has a say, like you know. You need a strong physios there. Remember Gareth Law and that. No, this player's not playing. This player is almost ready. Take this player off now. Strong physios. Do you reckon we have that? Do you reckon even if we did, Gary Johnson would listen? I doubt it. This constant thing, he's not there all week. So Downs is doing it. If a player plays really well on the days Johnson isn't there, does that get fed back? You know, is Downs just doing this? If Downs starts putting his own take on things, is he not allowed? That's why Downs comes over and goes, you know, like an absolute leader that he is. I'm not saying that he is not part of the problem because, you know, his defense coaching, all that stuff is poor, but comes over like a man, comes over like a leader, comes over like anything really, don't matter what you are, just anything with a bit of leadership and something about you, you know, I just.
A lot of it comes back to the planning though from Gary Johnson, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You look at how many minutes.
It's Downs just as dummy. Like, this is the thing, like.
Got to look after these players, and he doesn't. That's the trouble.
Get into that football club right now, and you know, sort everything out. Johnson goes overnight. You get the players enjoying their football again. They are good players in this team for this level. I know they've been appalling a lot of this season, but there is so much more to come out of this. Get into the playoffs, which is a challenge now. We cannot sleepwalk like we have under Johnson, or we're not going to get relegated on a couple of points of, oh, we got relegated, all that rubbish. And I see one final point, which has been on forums and it's been spread around, and I can't quite remember who started it, to credit. Someone's take was, well, despite all the fighting talk, does it suit the owners being in the South? Because I imagine it's a less wage bill, so they're paying less, even though it probably doesn't mean much in relativeness. And the attendances haven't really changed much.
That's the assumption. That's the assumption, unless you've got
that's the assumption
clear
now.
figures.
So,
but people will start voting with their feet soon, I reckon.
Yeah.
I think that's is that the only sticking point that will really make them change their ways? That if suddenly you only get, I don't know, 1,400 against Dover, then you go, oh right, okay, they're not coming because we've been getting over 2,000, and the attendances have still been very good.
That's going to be interesting, Dom, on Saturday, isn't it? Because if you look a lot again, you don't believe everything you read on social media, but you look at a lot of people say the reaction to some of the stuff that we've put out over the last couple of days, as well as some of the club stuff, you know, buy your tickets for Dover, kind of on Monday morning. That there's a lot of comments on there that says you can shove it until you run better.
Yeah, it'll be a cold afternoon, and
I feel like that.
Money's a bit tight in
completely
January.
done.
It's an easy excuse to miss a game, isn't it?
Why would I go to somewhere I'm not listening to anymore, not respect as a fan, like every fan, and watch the same pathetic excuse? You know, like last season it was worth going because they were still trying, and even though they're making the same mistakes, there was still something a bit to get excited for. I'm so done with this football club because I'll just go there, I'll get frustrated, or we'll win and it won't really mean much. It's the same things, you know. Why should, you know? I just don't feel like going at all. I'll probably go last minute. I've got a season ticket, but I don't. You know, I think with families who haven't got season tickets, and you know, if they're taking a family and their kids and that, and I know they go for different reasons, but you lose in the community. You're killing a generation, a potential generation of Torquay fans coming through. I grew up, and my generation grew up with us in the Football League. You know, others grew up with us near like a National League club. You're killing future generations coming through.
But this
is rubbish.
They're really good. I will give the club credit. They are really good at prioritising on the community spaces and getting the youngsters
there's some
to
good
come
business
in.
people. There's some good business people in the football club. I'm not discounting that, but you need a football business in there as well. If you put a football business bloke which told them about the football side, you could probably end up with a half decent football club going here. You know, put someone in charge of their hands as well as the football sort of network. This football club
desperately needs a director of football and a young coach.
Yes, not just relying on a businessman.
And you know what? If they, God forbid, ever did get rid of the manager and they brought someone in and it didn't work, then that's fair enough. But at least it needs that new impetus now. It really does.
If your scouts are watching this, Edwards, honestly, so if your scouts are watching this, Edwards, right, and it's got to the point now I'm saying, just just realise that you could actually, you know, Johnson, as great as he have done a couple of years ago, it's making you look a bit of a fool at the moment.
Read the room.
Read the room, where you can realise, you know, get a football person in there, you know, get off your high horse a minute, you know, come on. You know, some people do fail a bit in life, you know, and just look around, read the room, and get a football people in, get a football scouting, physio network in, and we can make this football club work. But you keep doing the same mistakes, and you're
like
pretty
Chris
narcissistic
says, you know,
at times.
there must be coaches, former managers in the stands that look at our squad and think, I could do something with him.
Yeah, of course.
If we do try something a different way with him, yeah, that could work. That could work.
Because you're telling me you want Lewis Collins up front, which is fine, because he could be a striker. But if Gary put him up front, he'd be playing with his back to goal and getting balls pumped up to him like Foyer has been. And he wouldn't cope with that for more than about 5 minutes, because they'd whack him around the air. You know, you get a few whacks, and Collins is pretty soft, isn't he? He doesn't really want to get involved in any challenges. So under this manager, it just won't work. Maybe under a different manager, where you play it on the floor, you have some ways to move the team around, some imagination, it could work. But that's my reason I wouldn't even put Collins up front.
But you've got a player like Collins, and
think we
take
launch
him
the
off.
ball up to him. We launch the ball.
He obviously doesn't rate him up front, because he takes him off and decides Marshall's better up there, Ace is better up there, De Silva's better up there. It's embarrassing. It's laughable.
Collins plays further back, if anything, doesn't he? He seems to float back to the
we persisted with the same direct long ball as we would if we had Jarvis or Ash up there.
And that didn't work with Jarvis and Ash anyway. It's like so embarrassing.
It doesn't work with those two, so why is it going to work for Asa and Marshall?
I saw it against Eastbourne. Even Dean Moxey was doing it. Dean Moxey can ping a ball.
Oh, everyone was.
He'd obviously been told to chip it up to Foyer or work off
It's
it.
dinosaur football. Gary,
really
you're better
basic.
than that. You used
really
to play
basic.
good passing football.
Yeah.
The other thing about this, but I keep thinking about, well, and as I said, I'm not saying that you should, because, you know, we all work and none of us would. But the part I keep thinking about is that if you're him right now, this cannot be. There's no part of this now that could be fun.
Yeah,
and it's a job, and I'm sure one of the traits of football managers have to be very high and very strong in the stubbornness. They have to be stubborn to believe that the players that they've recruited, what they're trying to do, the systems they're trying to play, all the rest of it, will work. Because if you didn't think that, why would you do it? But so he must think he can turn it around. Must think he's got the players that can do it. But all of this stuff, all of the abuse, all of the social media traffic, everything that goes on match days, he must be able to feel it. He must be able to hear it. And there is a part of me now that just thinks, why would you put yourself through it if you're him? Why would you do it? Accepting no one resigns from their job because he's got to work like the rest of us. But
because he doesn't want his finishing script.
Yeah, is there a bit of it? And Tom,
but he must be miserable with this. He must be miserable with this. This cannot be any fun on any level now, can it? At all. His only stubbornness that he's keeping.
I know what you're going to say, Tom, and I'm going to say something to you. I just feel it's a bit sad, really. I just feel there's a man who's done a fantastic professional football manager who's now struggling to let go because he knows it's his final job, probably, and he won't let go. And it's almost a bit sad. It's almost a bit sad when you watch his interviews. It's almost a bit sad, I find.
My grandma watched the interview, and she said to me on the Sunday, she said, I watched this interview. I almost felt sorry for him because he looked like a really old man who should be enjoying his retirement. And I agreed, but he's not going anywhere, is he? Even if we lose on Saturday, I don't think he'd go.
No,
but it's just there's a tipping point, and Hereford, full time was very close to being a tipping point with the fan base. I think at home, I think he'll have a few more supporters there because naturally you do have people who they're just happy to watch Torquay United, but away from home, and we've got a lot of away games, so it's not like he's going into a positive place away from home with the fans. He's going to have the ones who travel in across the country there, the ones who are more vocal. He's got to try and win them over. Like I said, if he can get promoted, it will be in spite of Gary Johnson. It won't be because of him, that's for sure. And whatever happens, whether he goes now, whether he goes at the end of the season, whatever happens, he's got to go, lads, for the best of the football club. But the people inside the club, I don't think they care, to be honest.
I do think Dom said it earlier. I do think Saturday will be interesting there because there's been a lot of talking about losing the fans and all of this stuff. But the answer will be on Saturday. It won't be on.
We'll win on Saturday, surely, and then it will just be paper over the cracks. But even that, I'm doubting now.
Will we? Will we?
I'm not saying that in a confident way, but I'm just saying the way these things go, when you're so angry about something, the way the season's gone, and then they get a result, and then people go, oh, you know, and
They'll
it
be
gets
like, oh, yeah,
quite
we've beaten,
quiet.
we've beaten Dover at home. Everything is
Yeah, I mean, a
fine.
lot of fans. I'm just saying, I won't change my mind, but then it's like this bittersweet thing because a lot of times when you associate losing games and what you manage about, you are in the lower parts of the table, and we're in the playoffs. Does that make sense? So we're still winning quite a lot of games. That's why I've hated the season so much, because every time we've won a game, we've papered over a crack. But then you're like, well, we're still winning quite a lot of games. Then you can't go over it. And then we have a disgraceful performance. But now it's just, well, since the fans forum, every performance and result's been disgraceful.
Mm-hmm. Well, we did a poll on Twitter soon after Hereford, and it was basically, if Gary Johnson stays, will we make the playoffs, and how do people think we do? We had nearly 350 votes on that. 57% of people reckons we're going to finish outside the playoffs at the moment.
I think that,
Yeah,
I think
I would
there's a
right
stat.
now.
There's a stat that I've read. I don't ask where, but I read it somewhere in the last few days, which I think sums up the challenge ahead. Whoever's in charge, whatever, is that I think is that we're second in the points total for home games,
Yeah,
and we're 15th for away games. 13 points from 33 games.
Yeah.
If that doesn't improve, we won't get in the playoffs, because we've got, after this weekend, I think we're 4 games more at home than we are away. If that record carries on the same, we won't get in the playoffs. It is that simple, and that really is, it would be, you know, football criminality. Really, if we don't get in the playoffs, given, you know, what we've got, where we should be in terms of the league we're in,
it would be the ultimate embarrassment on the Torquay. Let's be honest. I mean, no disrespect to this league, because there's a lot of, you know, hard-working teams, but they are very limited teams. So if we can't finish above.
But look who's in the playoffs right now. They've all but Bath have beaten us this season already. That's the challenge. If we don't finish second or third, we're reliant on going to, you know, these grounds and these teams who have already beaten us and know they can beat us.
He's banking his chips on having Dawson. He's banking his chips on having his main charges back. I think Lapsley, Dawson, Ash, everybody. He's hoping, like last season, there'll be a end of season push.
It might be too late.
We're banking on it, aren't we? Unfortunately, yeah, I say it could be too late. I think we'll maybe scrape in, and then you never know in the playoffs. But I don't think if we lose in the playoffs, I don't think these owners will see it as a complete nightmare. I think we had a decent season. Yeah, we got to the playoffs.
They're so out of touch.
I don't think they'd be that disappointed.
There's not a footballing person telling them in there. And if there was, they'd probably get rid of them within a day.
Yeah, I think there'd be a whole PR push. Valiant goals losing, tough playoff. You know, that would be the way.
Local media.
Book your season.
Oh, more bad luck. Did you know we had bad policy decisions getting Ashton Gate?
Yeah.
What was one of them? Torquay fans share their frustration at losing to Hereford. No, we're sharing our frustration because we are a football club in constant decline. It's and again, I honestly think if we don't get promoted this season, I think we're in this division for the long run. And again, my biggest fear is they say we won't go part-time. Well, again, I don't believe anything that comes out of Clark Osborne or, you know, George Edwards' mouth. I'm afraid it's not worth the you know, there's just nothing, no accountability at this football club. I don't trust them. I don't trust anyone, to be honest. And the fans, you know, I'll always say the fans deserve so much better. I know you're not guaranteed success in football, but especially our travelling support and, you know, the numbers we still bring to home games definitely deserve a hell of a lot better.
The opposition fans have to appreciate where we've come from. It was 3.5 years ago where we were top of the.
And we're a football league club for about 90, 100 years. So
3.5 years on, we're having a nightmare. Really.
And it's just the negativity now. Like, I don't think many of us went to Hereford on Saturday expecting us to win. No. It's like last season we went all to these games and it was like, we're going to lose this. I can't see us getting anything. That's how it felt on Saturday, and that's unfortunately in a minute when I read through all the predictions for points, you'll see it in the comments too. There's hardly anyone that thinks we're going to get 9 out of 9 points from our next 3. And I don't blame them.
Should we go into Kelly's corner? And this week's misery.
Misery continues. Unless you guys got anything else to add before moving on.
I've said all. I'm pretty resigned.
I think he's just got to get organised for Saturday. He's got to get that defence right, because even a club like Dover could score against us with our defence at the moment. He's got to get us organised, and you know, because this is a load of odds and sods at the moment. the manager, it comes back to the manager. Buck stops at him to get them organised, get them sorted.
But even then, they are a bunch of odds and sods. But even then, you can put them into a bloody system that makes them a team.
As you said last week, Chris.
A standing resilient chance of actually being able to beat someone like this with a bit of structure and a bit of formation, and a bit of pattern of play. To be who the players are, don't have to matter. Thank you.
I do agree.
Well said that, man.
I do agree. I mean, anyone can work that out, but not some.
So on to Kelly's corner. So, as just mentioned, we've got 3 games starting from Saturday onwards. We've got Dover, currently bottom of the division. We then travel to Chippenham, who are currently 17th, and then we go to Worthing, who are currently 2nd in the league. And we just basically want to know how many points we'll get from those 3 games, and whether anything less than 9 out of 9 would be a disaster. I think for me, 7 is the absolute minimum, but it has to be 9. But it'll probably be more likely 2 or 3 for me. But we'll get into that. So Rachel says, not conceded to say it should be 9. We'll be lucky to get 2. #Johnson out. Disco Barry says, oh, I've lost it. Maybe 3 from Dover at home, and then none from the 2 away matches. Will he be gone soon? Probably. Again, I think he could lose every game and he'd be all right. And Aaron says, so far we have managed 13 points from a possible 33 away from home this season. No striker and an inept manager and coaching staff. I would be shocked if we got 4 points from those 3 games. And then lots of comments on Facebook, on the Talkie Talk page and the Yellow Army page. So I'll try and go through these as I can. Ross Warner says we need 7 to 9 points, but are we going to get more than a point at each away match? David Lynch says we might beat Dover if some of our injured players return. We could get a draw from one of the away games, I reckon 4 points. Paul Galbraith says 4 points, 3 against Dover, a point at Chippenham, but none away at Worthing. And then all these comments through here. So we've got Philip Stew. He says, unfortunately, just for the 3 going by their ridiculous, horrendous form. 2 points is Babiola Lafleur. Joe Gilbert says 4 points. We surely can't lose to Dover. I've seen us lose to a lot worse than Dover, personally. Joe Dudley says 1 point. Adam Geary,
bottom of the league, what can go wrong? I'd say.
Adam Geary says 2 if we're lucky. Ricky Clanford says 4 points. Neil Cluer says lucky to get 1 point, I reckon. There's Joe who says 4 points. Jeff Foreman says no points. Steve George says 3 points. Mark Hepworth says 5. Beat Dover just and draw the other 2. Steve Cooney says 4. Dennis Kalmer says very few, regrettably, unless we have a striker and a stronger midfield. Alfie Kowalski says Worthing away, we are going to get battered. A draw against Dover and 2 losses away from home. Simon Leafy says 4 points. Mark Haller, confident, reckons we'll get 9 out of 9. Not sure if that's serious or not, but 9 out of 9. Neil Holloway says 4. Stefan Taylor says we'll lose every single game. Stephen Bagcott says 3. Lee Collett says 1. Callum Oldham says none. Mark Biffle says 3 points. Wayne Bray 1. Dan Butterworth 4. And Alistair Pert says no points, nil point. Confidence high in the Torquay United camp. But again,
what does Kelly's corner say?
2 points.
I think if you offered me 5 or 6 at the moment, I'd take it comfortably, wouldn't you? I'll say 4. I think maybe a win against Dover and a draw away to Chippenham.
The problem I've got with it just at the moment is we can beat anyone at home because we've beaten a lot of teams at home when we have not played very well, and that will continue, albeit the last 2 home performances have got 1 point. So I mean, if we can't beat Dover, then we really should go. But my issue is still, which is why no part of me was surprised at the result at Hereford. There's no part of me that goes to any of these away games with any confidence just at the minute, because the record has been so poor this season. And it's not just the record, it's just the way we've played in a lot of games.
We're going to concede 2 goals, you think?
This is it. And this is it. And are we earlier in the season, like Hemel game, I remember thinking, well, okay, we're 2-0 down, but we can score goals here. But if we're away from home, if we go a goal behind, are we going to score 2? If we go 2 behind, are we going to score 3? And I think that's the danger. I would like to think we could get at least 7 points, but I think we'll beat Dover, draw at Chippenham, and lose to Worthing. So 4, I think, is realistic.
Depends if anyone comes back from injury. Because if they don't,
Yeah, but even if they do, Tommy, they're not going to be back flying, are they? It's going to be half an hour or 20 minutes or whatever. They can't just come back and just start banging in goals and changing games straight away, because that's not how fitness works, is it? So you've either got to get a couple of good loan players in. There's still several rumours about several players. And if we can get those in, then great. But if we can't, this current group of players are just not good enough as a group.
I just don't see where the goals are coming from at the moment.
No.
If you're playing without a recognised striker, I don't see how we're going to get the goals, even against a team as bad as
You've
Dover.
got to get tight. That's why.
And you're playing with no attacking movement at all, or just no passing, no, just nothing.
Would you put Asa Hall back in midfield? Did he look reasonably fit on Saturday, Tom, or was he was up front? I guess so it's hard to.
He was up front, so I don't. Would you?
I'd be tempted to put him in a midfield with McGavin, sit them.
I'd have McGavin playing
on the
further up
defence,
again.
just to steady us up, I think, because at least with Asa, you've got a leader in midfield, somebody who can direct operations and can read the game, because we've been sort of missing that. Without Archer playing, but he's kind of runs. I'm not sure what his best position is, but he kind of runs where he goes, kind of thing, and leaves gaps. And he's a hard-working player, but I'm not sure which position he's supposed to be in. Or at least
I feel a bit sorry for him.
You know what you're going to get with Asa.
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for Arch, because I agree with what we were discussing, Tom. I think that there's a player there, and he's young and he's raw, and he's come out part-time football, and he's all of a sudden he's being expected to be one of the main men. So I feel a bit sorry for him, because I think with better players around him, with a bit more time, with some appearances, there's some raw talent there. But just at the minute, it's like go and score a goal, go and create a goal, go and take 3 people on and put a cross. Just at the minute,
there's no if you was actually coached properly.
If you had a 3-man midfield with him, Hall and Dawson both fit, that he would have room to sort of manoeuvre them, because Hall and Dawson do the hard yards, make the running and make the tackles, and he can get on with his game, can't he? But at the moment, there's too much on him to make something happen. That's the trouble. There's pressure on a few of the lads to do that. You got somebody like Harris who's just regressed from your left back.
Yeah.
Would you put Dan Martin back at left back? How did he look on Saturday, Tom?
Average. But again,
would he be worth having a left back instead of Harris at the moment? Harris just seems to have regressed completely.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at ways to improve us at the moment.
It's hard to say. I mean,
but what can you do? That's the thing, isn't it?
It just needs, again, like I said, just needs a complete refresh and another set of eyes on it. But just playing players in the right position would be a start.
But that and the fact we haven't got a right back of any sort, have we? Marshall's not a right back. He's done all right.
He hasn't got a proper overlap.
And Hereford saw that. Hereford saw that. They targeted that right back position.
What a good manager targeted things. Wow.
Amazing. Well, they changed their manager, didn't they? They had Josh Gallagher at the start of the season, and funnily enough, like even Dover have had a new manager and kind of picked up a little bit.
And Gowley, they'll be right for a couple.
They'll be relegated come the end of the season. Don't get me wrong. I mean, what have they won? 2 games all season?
Oh, don't say that.
Yeah, that's right. 2 games.
So yeah, I think we had a rare draw against Eastbourne in the last game, and right now things they are. I think it'll be 1-1, lads. They will go a goal behind as well.
We might hold them. I'll say 2-1 win. I've got to, surely.
Yeah, I'll stick with 2-1 as well.
I think we'll win. I just don't think it'll be good though. I can't consider anything else against Dover, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, I think we'll win. I can't just give it a clean sheet. I think we'll win 3-1. And then
the only positive I just remembered from Saturday was that Maidstone lost to Havant. So
yeah, it changed my life.
Again, it's not a great league, is it?
No.
And that's what makes all of this all the more frustrating, because if we just had 20% more in a lot of these games, we'd be winning these games, let alone drawing or losing them.
There's only one proper professional team, and unfortunately they're playing green, don't they? And they're sitting pretty at the top of the league.
18 points clear
Of
us.
There we are. So another truly cheerful, happy, positive.
Next week will be when we've got 6 points, Sam.
I still won't feel any more positive.
Hello, anyone there? No? Oh, okay.
Thank you for watching us this week. So we'll see you next week.
Here's Hargreaves, the chance for Torquay. Chris Hargreaves, the captain. If he stays onside, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benyon. Sells.